everyone, and welcome back to Horse Center this beautiful Monday. Hopefully it stays pretty nice. I'm in the middle of the hurricane path, so fingers crossed that the internet stays functional. But tonight we have, as always, Swiss Army Shawn, my wonderful co-host, and our special guest tonight is veteran jockey John McKee, who has been setting records since the day he started riding, pretty much. 22% win, 51% in the money, almost 2,500 wins. Welcome to the show, John.
Thanks for having me.
So happy to have you here. Now, something that's interesting about you is your dad is also a very successful jockey. And I mean, you look like you were born for the part. You've got the build. You're very athletic. You wrestled all through high school. So it seems like this would be the obvious career choice for you. However, your dad did not want you to follow in his footsteps, right?
Right. Yeah, I guess, with him involved in the sport and his injuries, and I guess he didn't want his son to kind of, he didn't want to see his son get hurt or kind of the responsibilities that came with it. And he wanted me to go to college and, pursue an education. And, we just kind of had different ideas.
Sure. So what was that like growing up in the racing industry, but like trying to stay away from that as much as your parents tried to keep you out of it? What was that experience like?
I actually enjoyed it. Seeing my father's win pictures, up at home, and that's what kind of inspired me. And, that's just like ever since I was a young kid, that's what I wanted to do. And when I got a little older and, when I was 15, 16, almost graduating, school, I told my dad, that's what I wanted to do. And, I told him when I was 18, either support it or you don't. And he ended up supporting it. And I remember I rode just a few horses in my whole career and I broke my collarbone. And I just remember being up in the hospital and he was the last person to come in. And the first words to come out of his mouth was, "I told you so." And once those words come out of his mouth, that's what kind of, set that fire in me to kind of go out and kind of prove him wrong and that I could do it.
Sure. Yeah, that is pretty wild. I saw that you broke your collarbone before you won any races. So that actually inspired you even more. It didn't give you any kind of second thoughts?
No, like I said, it kind of sparked that motivation to, go after it, stronger.
Okay, awesome. So, as I said, you've been setting records since the very beginning of your career. You started riding in 2002, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes, and you had the most wins in any single season at River Downs, now Belterra Park. You broke a record that was set back in the 1970s. I mean, what was it like to just have so much success right away in your career?
Oh, I was just at that point in my career, didn't really worry about success. I was more worried about working harder to kind of advance and just get better. And I feel like opportunities were kind of coming my way, and I would just kind of wanted to be prepared and ready for it when it came. And I had great people behind me. I've had a couple great agents, and I think that's kind of benefit from my success.
Absolutely. I heard that you also had some really famous mentors who kind of helped you along the way. You had, who is it, Pat Day, Perry Oots? Like, tell us a little bit about how those guys took you under their wing and helped show you the ropes.
When I was first starting horse racing, Pat Day was, that's who I always watched when I was younger before I even got into the sport. And, he kind of like, I always watched his style, and we kind of like, our styles are kind of similar with each other. And when I met him, we just, he kind of took me under his wing and kind of taught me a few things. And I just watching how he conduct conversations with other people and how he presented himself, on and off the racetrack. It was somebody that I kind of looked up to and wanted to be like, and still continue to strive for that.
Sure.
So he, Pat Day actually baptized me. So he kind of grew my faith, closer to God. And like I said, I feel blessed and, just to be a part of some great people that's kind of influenced my career.
For sure. And you mentioned your agents. Eddie Campbell was your first agent, right?
Yeah, Eddie Campbell. He was my first agent, and he also had Steve Coffin. Um, so it was. I remember breaking Steve Coffin's record at River Downs when I first started, but it was kind of it was kind of a cool thing because after that we end up getting together for Christmas every year until Eddie, got sick, and so I got to meet Steve's wife, and he got to meet my family, and we, like I said, we got together for Christmas for several years after that.
Very cool. So what kind of an influence do you feel that Eddie had on your career? Like, what did he help teach you starting you out?
I felt like he taught me like patience. I remember we were, we lived together. So after the races, we would go over and review replays of the races, and he would kind of ask me what was I doing here, or what was I doing there, or what could I do to kind of get my horse in a better position. And so I learned, he put me in company with some good trainers that I got to work on my clock a lot better. And, that's kind of how I progressed in that areas.
Very cool. Now, this is a little off topic, but I'm wildly curious. You have spent much time at Turfway Park, which is infamous for its horrific weather. I've only been there a couple times, even though I live really close to there. And every time I go, I regret it. I'm never dressed warm enough. So what's it like out there riding in the cold? How do you handle it?
We just, it's, I guess when you get out there and your blood's pumping, you just kind of, you got to endure it just for, 10 minutes. But if sometimes it feels like eternity, it's depending on what the wind's like and the weather's like. But I grew up in Ohio, so I'm kind of got it acclimated to the weather pretty quick at a young age.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. And we have a comment here from my husband who just loves you. He was so excited when I said you were coming on the show. He says, nice haircut. And he says that he was your mentor. Okay, well, all right. He says you've got a great work ethic and very professional about business. We have some great memories.
We've had a lot of great times together, Willie and I. When he was on the Kentucky circuit, I spent some time with him at Presque Isle, and like I said, it's just a nice, caring person. And congratulations on your child. I heard you guys got a new baby.
Yeah, we got a mini Chilly Willy running around, but everyone says the same thing about you, John, that you're very professional and just a great person underneath all of that success and accolades and all that as well. So what do you think is the hardest thing about being a jockey?
Well, like I said, there's a lot of hard work that goes involved behind the scenes where the fans don't really see that. Getting up in the morning, working horses. A lot of people have to fight their weight. So I don't have to really worry about that. I think that's been a big attribute to my career. I can go out there with a lot of energy, and so, I've just been blessed with that.
Yeah, that's huge. Jeffrey Doyle wants to know, where did you win your first race?
I won my first race at River Downs on a horse named Storm Cup.
Awesome.
Do you remember all those little achievements, like your 1000th win, could you name the horses and stuff for all them, or just that first one?
I remember winning my 1000 race for Billy Conley. I can't remember the horse's name. I think it was Smart Bid or something like that. But I believe it was at Turfway Park, I believe.
Possibly. I don't have those facts. That just kind of came up. Do you have a countdown for your win number 2,500? Do you know how many you're away?
I really don't. I haven't really been paying attention to it.
You
want me to tell you?
Absolutely.
47 wins away from 2,500.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll just keep working hard. And, when that day comes, it's, we'll just kind of celebrate the trainers and the owners that gave us the opportunity along the ways.
And what's funny, too, is we're 4 minutes into this conversation, and I'm running a contest that started today. It's called Jockey Survivor. It's kind of like a suicide pool in football. People pick jockeys, and they got to get one win. Well, somebody just took you for tomorrow, so you got to get a win to keep them alive in the contest.
No pressure. No pressure.
Well, it's like a vitamin, one a day and keep the doctor away, and you know what, that's a successful day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Jamie brought up the cold. Now, I'm curious, when it is really cold, do you try to go back to the jocks room and get warm, or do you try to kind of keep your body normal, you know, that it's going to be cold, or do you keep going from the hot to the cold?
Yeah, well, like I said, you don't have to really worry about it in the summertime. It's more like turfway in the wintertime. I think once your body gets heated up, you know, it kind of stays warm. So.
And you being a veteran rider, how hard was it with the whip with this whole hissle roll?
Well, I'm still kind of getting adjusted to it. Like I said, just, you know, I think it's all fresh to many jockeys out there. So it's a rule. So you got to kind of adjust to it as quick as you can, or there's a lot of penalties that's going to come your way.
Cool. Ed says, John, what's your favorite post position?
I would say 4, 5, 6, somewhere right there in the middle.
Do you find, we brought up the whip roll, do you find that the younger jockeys kind of have an advantage of that because they already kind of know the role, they were brought up in that, so they kind of have an advantage and been doing it for a little longer?
You know, everybody's got to get adjusted to it, whether they're a veteran rider or a young rider. So it doesn't really make a difference at this point.
Are you one of those jockeys that helps the young jockeys right away, or you kind of like keep quiet, like you got to beat these guys too?
I feel like, you know, if there's a rule out there in the jocks room, I mean, I feel like, you know, I let everybody be aware of what's going on, and, you know, we kind of all adjust together.
What other tracks besides the tracks you're running, are you looking at any other tracks that you might run a race or two at?
Keeneland's getting ready to open up. I'm going to finish Belterre here, probably ride a few at Keeneland, and I know I'll be shipping up to Mahoney Valley to ride a few of the races up there, and then I'll come back to Churchill that month of November and then get ready for Turfway in December.
Awesome.
John DaSilva has a question. How did you enjoy riding in New York when you were at Bug?
I actually had a great time in New York. Rusty Arnold allowed Eddie and I to stay at his condo up there. And I had Aaron Grider was up there. So I feel like I had some good people in my corner. It kind of stayed out of, you know, I knew where to go and when to go. And I got to enjoy their great food up there. And then Aaron Grider took me to a couple hockey games, and it's a different atmosphere, different pace of life, but I enjoyed it.
When you're not riding, what do you do?
I like to golf. You know, yeah. I do that.
I have a question about that because I know you love to golf, and I know you've mentioned that you go golfing with some really guys who are really great at it, like Corey Lannery. I want to know, who is the worst at it? Like, who every time they come out golfing with you, you're like, oh boy, it's embarrassing.
I really don't know. Like I said, I mean, the guys that I golf with, they've kind of been playing for quite a while. So,
if you don't know who it is, it might be you. Just saying. Just kidding.
It depends what day. It just depends on what day. We all have a good day and a bad day. Golf will humble you quick.
Yeah, no doubt. Now I know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
How often do you guys golf? Once, twice a week?
Yeah, about once a week. Yeah, Mondays and Tuesdays are off days. So.
And is that like a jockey thing? I feel like at least 75% of jockeys all golf.
That might be a good number.
Okay.
It's just it's a sport that you can get away from the racetrack and kind of decompress and just kind of go out there and just have fun and enjoy it. And there's no pressure, and kind of get your mind away from the horses.
Now, John, you've had some really awesome rides on a special horse, Lawyer Ron. Would you consider that your favorite horse that you've ridden so far in your career?
I would say, yeah, he's probably one of the best horses I rode in my career.
Awesome. And what are some of the greatest moments you've had with him that just really kind of stick with you?
Well, we've got the privilege to win the Southwest, the Rebel, the Arkansas Derby. So it was a fun ride. Good memories. Bob Holthus did a great job of getting him prepared, and we have a lot of memories with Mr. Holthus and his wife Bonnie.
Do you set goals every year, like where exactly, how many wins you want that year or stuff like that? Or you don't pay attention to any of that?
I really don't pay attention to it. We just kind of go out there and give it our best. And, if we have success that day, that's great.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So Willie's calling you out a little bit here. He says that you almost got him killed by his neighbor because you couldn't see driving your big truck and you hit a car parked right up the driveway. Great story. I mean, were you guys really in mortal danger?
I don't. I went over to his house one day, and he kind of lived in a place where you couldn't really turn around, and it was at a tight spot. And,
Erie's
it was
famous
a cluster. The neighbors come out hollering and screaming, and he had to come out and diffuse the situation. And
you almost got a chance to use those wrestling skills.
Yeah, we got to get. Well, at the moment, it was a heated situation, but we look back now and we laugh about it.
Yeah, he was telling me all about it. That sounds like a trip, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was a cluster that day.
Now, I had another question for you. Of course, you've ridden on a ton of different surfaces, but I feel like you might be a bit of an expert on the poly versus the dirt because you were there at Turfway when they did the switch over to the poly. So what are the differences between riding those two different surfaces?
I feel like my riding style kind of fit the poly track. Just took me a little bit to get adjusted to it because the old poly track, I felt like it kind of, when it got cold, it kind of favored speed. But now the switch over to the new poly track, I feel like it's a more balanced. You got more feel. You can win on the lead. You can come off of it. So I think it's kind of benefited a lot of people.
So do you prefer the new surface?
I like the new surface a lot better. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot more bounce to it. Got a lot more feel to it. You can feel the horses underneath of you when they accelerate. And you can just ride a good race. I think the old poly track, you had to be wide the whole time, and you just feel like you couldn't ride a really good race. But now with the new poly track, it's more balanced. You got more feel. You can save ground. You kind of let your horse tell you what to do, and if you got enough horse, he'll accelerate. He'll finish up.
We hear a lot that it's harder to hear the horses coming on the poly and the synthetic. Do you feel that's the same, or is this new poly you can hear them coming?
I think it's quiet. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of kickback. I really enjoy the new poly track.
Is it hard to tell? So when you have a lead, how do you tell when you have it wrapped up and you don't have it wrapped up if it's hard to hear them coming?
Well, you can feel what you got underneath of you. If you're accelerating, it's going to take a pretty good horse to come, get by you. But I think that's typical in any race, even if it's on the dirt. If you got horse and you're accelerating, it's going to take a horse that's running faster to get by you.
Yeah, I just always feel bad for some jockeys because some will take it easy and then they get beat at the wire and they thought they had it wrapped up. Or they're the ones that are up 20 lengths and they're still beating the horse and it doesn't look good. So I feel like it's a no-win situation.
Yeah, no, like I said, I really like the new poly track, and I like the feel of it, and I like how it kind of favors, you can win on the lead or off of it, and so yeah.
Yeah, I think those poly tracks are good too because they seem to be kinder for the horses, right? Like they kind of bounce back easier. There's less injuries. I mean, they seem kind of like the way of the future to me.
It could be. I know Willie, he sounds like he feels like he likes the poly track up there at Presque Isle. And I feel like it's almost the kind of same surface, but different color.
Yeah, right. Well, ours used to be like shining white. So who knows what the future holds. But yeah, that's one thing we love about Presque Isle is very, very, very few horse fatalities. We're usually one of the best in the entire country when it comes to that, actually. And I had another question. I know you have a couple sons. So if they grow up and want to be a jockey, just like you wanted to, are you going to support that or are you going to be hesitant?
No, I'm gonna support whatever they want to do. I don't know if they'll have a career in being a jockey or in. I think my oldest one is gonna be a pilot. He's got his pilot's license, and my youngest one, he's just kind of going through life and whatever he wants to do. I'll definitely support it.
Very cool. And how old are they?
The oldest one is 22, and the youngest one will be 10 next month.
Gosh, you don't look old enough to have a 22-year-old, but that's great.
Yeah. I'm just grateful. I got 2 kids that are happy and healthy, and they're both doing good in life.
Awesome.
If there was one change you could make, John, in the horse racing today, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or do you need a few?
I would definitely change the whip rule. I just don't understand the difference of hitting a horse 6 times and then getting fined if you hit him 7 times.
Yeah.
That makes no sense at all.
Yeah, and can you explain? I mean, we hear jockey after jockey how light these new whips are and how they don't hurt the horse at all. And there's still people that see it and they want to complain about it. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, on the difference on these whips now?
Yeah, the older whips, it was like a patent leather, so I could see, like, if you hit a horse, so many times. But with these new whips that they have now, it's like almost like a cushion, like a Nerf, like the material of it, like a Nerf gun or whatever. If we got to change the whips, I don't understand why there's a whip count on the horses if we're got to switch our whips to what they feel that's comfortable.
Yeah.
Rich brings it up all the time. Is that a reason why more horses might get away on the lead? Because you got to be more strategic on when you're using the whip?
Well, it's definitely been a game changer, because you gotta feel like how much horse you got underneath of you, and you gotta, try to get the best run out of your horse by only hitting him 6 times.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
And now, you
got to time it right.
Are you one? We talked to Jeremy Rose, and he actually said he knows. He used to have to count. Now he hits the horses at the same time every race, so he knows exactly when he's going to do it, and that's how he keeps track. Do you do that, or you go horse by horse?
Just different horses are different. I'm really not a whip rider anyways. I get a lot of run out of just throwing crosses, so it's not really affected me, but I've seen where it affected, some other riders.
Yeah.
And I feel their frustration over it too. So.
Yeah, the whip rule is a little bit crazy. The change in whips was beneficial for me because a lot of jockeys gave me their old whips that they couldn't use anymore. So I can use them on my off-track thoroughbred. I love it.
Yeah.
But we have a question here from John DaSilva. How did John feel about the comparisons to Steve Cawthon and Pat Day when he was young?
I really didn't feel. I didn't really feel any pressure over it. I felt like I had 2 great guys in my corner that were trying to help me. And I tried to learn I took in, what Steve had to say, and I took some advice, what Pat had to give. And, I kind of used it, what worked for me.
And I mean, if you're going to be compared to people, what better, right?
That they're 2 great men, and there's just wonderful men off the track, and, just couldn't be in better company than them.
Absolutely. And we have another comment here from Willie. I always like riding on the poly. The fatalities on the track are much less than a normal dirt track. However, it's very tough on riders. So when you go down, it's not very forgiving. That's true. Anyone who's gone down on the poly knows that it's not a soft place to land, right?
Right. I agree with that comment. It's like, when you hit, you just stick. There's no give. Yeah. Where if you fall and go down on the dirt, at least you can kind of roll, and it's a lot forgiving. So.
Yeah, the poly feels kind of like pavement when you hit it.
Right, especially going that fast.
Yeah.
What kind of injuries have you had in your career, and what's the worst one?
I've broken my collarbone twice, and I think my worst break was when I broke my leg and my ankle.
Ouch.
So that kind of set me back about 5 or 6 months, but we're blessed that nothing worse happened, and we got through that period and kind of bounced back stronger.
Do you have any major milestones that it's very important to you to hit in your career?
I would love to win the Ohio Derby. That's one race that I would love to win. I would love to win the Kentucky Derby.
Of course.
I think that's every jockey's dream.
Absolutely.
But being born and raised in Ohio, that's one race I would love to get accomplished.
I got the Ohio Derby right here that Willie won on Brass Hat.
Yeah, don't mention
so you need one of these.
Well, a funny story. You want to know a funny story is I was riding Brass Hat, and I had the opportunity to ride him, and we ended up staying at Churchill to ride a horse for Bob Holtis that day. So
I'm sorry.
That's how Willie Martinez got Brass Hat.
Well, thank you. We have like a whole wall dedicated to that horse because that's like his favorite horse. So thank you.
He went on to win the Ohio Derby, the Indiana Derby, went over to Dubai and ran second.
Yeah. That was a very special horse.
Yeah, he was a great horse. Buff Bradley did a great job with him. And,
he's fabulous too. Okay, so John DaSilva says, when is John returning to Parx to ride for Norman Cash again?
Well, just whenever the opportunity presents itself. Mr. Cash and we've had a great relationship, and we kind of got on a little roll there together. And like I said, whenever the opportunity presents itself, I'll be ready.
So now that you're not hanging out with Willie Martinez all the time because you guys are far away, who's the equivalent to Willie Martinez right now in your life?
Man, my family. I spend a lot of time with my family on my off days, and yeah. When you have kids, it changes you. The sport takes a lot of your time, so every time that you do get that extra free time is with your kids and your wife, and so that's my life now.
That's the right answer. Good job.
It's the true answer too, I'm sure.
Yeah, them are facts.
Yeah. Do you prefer day racing or night racing?
Day racing.
Is that so you could get it all over at once, go in the morning, stay, and then go home and be done with it?
Well, I say day racing because it's, we've built like a routine up for, from March till December. And then it's like you got to switch over to night racing, for 3 months. So it kind of gets your routine out of whack a little bit, but we quickly adjust.
And it's extra cold then. Like, can we get a little sunlight when it's freezing?
It's the coldest part of the night coldest part of the day to run is at nighttime.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Willie
at least
says,
if you're running it in the wintertime in the day, at least you get a little sun to help you out.
Yeah. Willie says, say hi to Shelly for me.
I will. I'll definitely tell her.
How hard is it on some days? I know, you guys used to ride almost every race. Now it's a little bit more. How hard is it when you have like a 3 or 4 races off before you ride your next race?
Like I said, you kind of do your homework. You know the horses that you're riding. You study them. You watch films, and that's kind of your homework. And then when you get on them, you go to plan A or plan B quick.
Yeah, it changes awfully quick.
Yeah, some days you might ride 3, some days you might ride 7 or 8. So you just got to adapt to the situations that you're in every day.
How long do you plan on riding it?
I would say I'm hoping 10 more years.
And Perry Oots will be retired by then, right?
You never know.
So.
You never know.
I think Perry and Willie will both still be riding. So.
Yeah, I spoke with Perry about this about a month ago, and I think there's a record that he's trying to break, and I think when he breaks that, I think you might hear some retirement talks. I'm not for sure. I can't speak on what he's going to do, but I think there's a goal and there's a number, and when he reaches that number, I think that's when you'll see it.
Well, he's getting pretty close as the oldest one that will win a race too, right?
I think he is, ain't he?
Yeah, and then we also had Tony Black on a couple times, and he wants to come back and win a race to set a record too. So he keeps saying he's going to come back. I keep paying attention for it. We'll see.
We got an arms race here.
Yeah, them men, they got a lot of grit to them. So man, you got to tip your hat to them.
For sure. All right, you got anything else, Shawn?
Oh, that's all I got. I was glad to finally catch up with John. And I will say in the phone call earlier, when I said Willie, it was a total different conversation. He lit up right away. It was totally different.
Yeah,
I know.
Willie's a genuine guy, and you won't find a nicer guy. So,
and we do have Perry on. We do have Perry on later, so that'll be cool too.
Yeah, he's definitely got a lot of grit and a lot of passion, and like I said, I respect him.
One of the best in the game for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on with us, John. It was great catching up with you, and say hi to Shelly for all of us.
Absolutely. Definitely. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Shawn. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
You have
Thanks,
a good
Shawn.
night.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You did it again.
I know. I did it again. All right. And Shawn, we have another special guest, right?
Yeah, just send the link. We'll actually have John DaSilva, who was asking all the questions on.
Yes.
He did a lot of putting that card together Saturday at Parx, which was an absolute fabulous card. So
yeah,
I thought it would be very interesting to bring him on. One, talk about that, talk about the handle they had, and also talk about what he had to do to get those races together.
Yeah, I saw that they set a record for the handle, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And, I talked to John Saturday at Parx, and to me, it was really interesting because you don't hear about this kind of stuff on how those races are put together.
Right.
You never hear about that. That's all the, stuff that no one really talks about or hears about. They just see the races, and they think that, the owners or whatever just decide those races, and they might, but there's also a lot of legwork that people like John do to put those together.
Absolutely.
We all know there's plenty of options around the country to go.
Yes.
And everybody will travel.
Yeah. Famously have fewer horses running now than we have had in, who knows how long. So it definitely requires some work to get things up and running the way that they should be. And hello, man of the hour. We were just talking about the fabulous card that you put together at Parx. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you very much. It wasn't just me. I did a lot of work, but I'm not the only one who has to take all the credit. Goes to David Sodniak, the racing secretary on the other crew we have in the racing office. We all worked hard to get this to happen, and I'm just glad we smashed the record again.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I saw that. Was it like 18 million or something? I was just looking right before we came on, and I was like, that's amazing. So happy for you guys.
Yeah. The record prior to last year was California Chrome when he showed up in 2014, and it was 10 and change. Last year, we had 14 and change, and this year we had 18 and change. So basically, in the last 2 years, we've been up over 81% for the record handle.
Awesome.
Wow. When do you start working on a card like the PA Derby?
You have to start 2-3 months in advance because training has changed. Years ago, trains would run every 2 to 3 weeks. They would adjust. Now they run every 4, 5, 6 weeks. They're not going to change midstream, so you have to work on them early. And I think that's one of the things that some places haven't adjusted to yet. When trains change the training schedules, you have to change how you're going to get them. Because if you don't get them early enough, they're set in their ways, and you're not going to get them.
And talk about the backside of this. The trainers and the horses just don't show up. You're calling them and basically selling them to come to this race, correct?
Oh, correct. You have to let them know who's showing up or how many are showing up. Some right away from reading from the media where everybody knew Bob Baffert was shipping the Pennsylvania Derby after the Haskell. He put it out there in the media. We all knew that. But last year when I was able to get Jackie's Warrior to show up, I couldn't tell a soul. Because it would be a feather in my cap, but if I put it out there, nobody's entering into that race. And it would be a field of 4. So I had to keep it quiet. Now, at that time last year, Asmussen had 4 horses nominated to the Gallant Bob. So when they would ask, who's coming, they said, well, Asmussen has 1. I didn't say who it was, but
Right.
just Asmussen has won. And so when they saw Jackie's Warrior, it shocked everyone, including New York, who thought they had him.
Yeah.
Oh.
So your history as working as an agent kind of helps you with this, right? Kind of, not exactly lying, but maybe putting a little spin on it.
Well, even before that, because I first started off working at Sports Eye in 1987. For 7 years, I was the editor of the program that was printed at Nara racetracks. So I got to read the conditions because I had to proofread that and everything else. And I also got to meet some people. They also had a publication called Racing Action, which I did some work for, along with Sports Eye, and that got me started. Then in 1994, I went to the New York Post. I worked at the office for 5 years. And then when Rick Lang was let go, I was given a chance to try out to be his replacement, even though it was 1 week after having my gallbladder taken out. But I went and I did that, and I was a lead handicapper for the New York Post for 14 years. And
Wow.
I did that until June 7th, 2013. Who's counting? The day before the Belmont Stakes, when the Post decided to let go of the horse racing staff. I mean, not time to do it, the day before the Belmont, but
Right.
corporate didn't care at that point. But those years of working at NYRA, covering their race.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Is it him or is it me?
That's him. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, whoa.
I'm so afraid my internet is going to crash any second I hear the hurricane.
Okay,
There he is.
Okay, we're back. All right.
All right. So I know where you lost me there, but like I said, working for the New York Post, that's what helped me the most, because I got to cover these guys on a daily basis, and you get to know them, you get to cover them, and of course up at Saratoga, where everybody socializes, you get to hang out with them and see what they really like as well.
Awesome. So, that's a huge history of all of these different things you've done. What has been your favorite profession in the industry?
Definitely working for the Post, because, like I said, when you get to pay to go to Saratoga for the whole meet, I mean, what's better than that? And that's a place where you eat, drink, breathe horse racing. It's a college town the rest of those years, but at that time, it's just awesome. You could be a famous celebrity like Bobby Flay, and you can walk around town like you're just one of the regulars. And that's what happens up at Saratoga.
Yeah.
He was apparently at Parx Saturday too. I missed it. But
Yes,
I
he
did.
was at
I saw.
Parx.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of my friends did make him a little mad because he was in the way of getting a picture of a Brian Dawkins.
Oh.
So talk about that a little bit too. A lot of it's made about all these stakes races around the country, and they have 5-6 horses. You didn't have one of those on Saturday, so you just think it was all the legwork going into it?
You have to do the legwork, because the one thing I like to do is I like to see the small guy get a shot as well as the big guys. I mean, you have to get the big name trainers and all that stuff, but who's to say that the little guy doesn't get an opportunity, can't do it? I mean, look what happened on Saturday. We had so many local trainers win races, including graded stake races and all that. I mean, that 8 out of 13 were locally based horses.
Wow.
And that's something on big days. You say, oh, all the shippers are coming in, they're going to take the money back to where they are. Not always the case. I mean, you want to work, you have to call, and because you never know. Look at a horse like Society. Yes, it's Steve Asmussen, but last time out, he won at Charlestown. Who goes from winning a race at Charlestown to winning a grade 1 like Society did?
Yeah.
Well, you also had more on that horse too. They didn't know the rider till what?
Yep.
You said the night before?
They had no jockey listed. Florent Giroux had a call with another horse, and then when that horse declared on Sunday, that's when he was able to pick up the mount for Steve Asmussen.
Wow.
Very cool.
See, that's one thing I've learned doing this job is when you're in the media, you get pushed back a lot. They don't want you knowing the whole story about what goes on. Sometimes the politics, sometimes the drama or whatever. Doing this job, working, trying to get horses for stakes, you find out a lot, and you get to see that maybe I was wrong in the past, that there's more to it than what meets the eye, and what the public sees isn't always what they're thinking.
Oh.
Oh, hold on. Okay, we're back.
Okay, I'm here.
So another question, now that you got Saturday's card off and you don't have to start on the PA Derby till 3 months ahead next year, what are the next races you're working on?
Tomorrow we draw the races for the match series, which is going to be run on Monday. We have 4 races, and which I'm trying to get as many horses as possible into that race. I mean, we have, for example, the President's Cup, and I got 3 trainers who already told me I'll go if it's a small field. Well, what good is that going to do me? I mean, I'm trying to get as many horses as possible, and they'll only run if it's a small field. So you have to find the right balance to try to convince them to go.
See, and that's what the other public don't know neither, is it's not always you're not working or track's not working or this horse is too good. It's that they don't want to face 10 other quality horses.
Yeah, I mean, you get things like that all the time. I mean, look at Rich Strike. I worked my butt off to get Rich Strike, and I thought I was going to get him. Because let's face it, would you rather go up against straight 3-year-olds going mile and eighth, or do you want to go up against Hot Rod Charlie, Happy Saver, and Art Collector? They decided to go with those 3 instead. I can't do anything about it. I would have went the other way, even if I wasn't with Parx. That's what I would have done. But this is what the owner wanted, and that's what they're going to do.
So then that's what you do every day, is just work on your next stakes?
Oh, no, not every day, because we don't have a stake schedule like New York. Because, like I said, we have a limited stake schedule. I'm a racing official. But here's the interesting thing about what I do. I'm not a full-time employee. I'm doing this part-time, because I also call charts at Delaware Park. So right now I'm at Parx Mondays and Tuesdays, and Wednesday through Saturday, I'm at Delaware calling the charts.
And that's the other thing I was going to mention. So you're available for your next adventure too, if somebody wants to make you full-time, right?
Well, you always have to listen, because you never know what's out there. And if it's worth my while, I have to pay attention and see if it's a good option for me.
And your work speaks for itself.
Well, I hope so. I mean, we had records the past 2 years, but like I said, I can do other things. Like today, I was working in placing. I've done claims. I've been the assistant clerk of scales. The only thing I haven't done is horse ID. But basically all the other jobs that a racing official has done, I've been able to do so far.
Awesome. Got anything else, Jamie?
Now, the owner is, when is Jamie going to send Willie to Parx for some races?
I've been trying that too. I want to meet Willie. That's going to be the best way to do it.
Yeah, well,
Jamie's on mute or something.
Well, I remember Willie in his young days, and people said he was the next big thing, and he won a lot of races. And like I said, what he did with Brass Hat, was terrific. And it's unfortunate what happened with Brass Hat in Dubai, in the end. But Willie did a great job riding all over the country, and he's a guy that goes out there and is definitely one of the veterans out there who people should be respecting for what he's done.
I cannot hear. Can you hear Jamie?
I cannot hear her. But Shawn, let me ask you this, since I have you on here. What were your thoughts about Saturday?
I thought it was great. I personally, that was the first time I was part of the meeting and was able to do that. That was the quickest 13 races I've ever been to. The access was awesome. The jockeys were awesome. Everybody I met, including yourself, were the nicest people. It was a career moment for me, and I'm not full-time neither. I'm just freelance part-time. I hope, one day I would love 5 days a week to go to the track and do something like that. I mean, I really had no pushback from anybody. That's one thing that people don't understand until you get into the business, and I'm sure you could speak on this, how nice everybody, there's that thing out there that this person's this kind of guy or this person's that kind of guy. Until you get in and know, you really don't know, because, I mean, how many jockeys were signing autographs and stuff, and they had to be hustled around, and they were signing autographs. I mean, our Rad was signing thousands of autographs Saturday, and he wasn't the only one. My brother was there. Paco Lopez walked around, was giving kids fist pumps. My brother didn't even have his fist out, and Paco made sure he gave him a little fist pump. So it was just great stuff like that happening all Saturday. And I think if you were there for the first time, I think there's new fans to the sport. I would definitely think you can't experience that one time and not go back.
The one thing which I'm sure Jamie could elaborate on as well is it's a family, whether it's the trainers or the jockeys or the exercise jockeys, we're all a family. And when something goes wrong, they're there for each other. They help each other. And they know what needs to be done to bring new fans into the game. I mean, they know it's important to make the kids feel welcome, to give them autographs, give them goggles or their whips. Because you do that, you got a fan for life. And they want to get involved more into horse racing. See, what could I do? I want to come out here again. And you have to be fan friendly, and the jockeys get it, and many people in the industry get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you always hear about that. You kind of got to get in that inner circle, which you do. But I never really had a pushback. I mean, obviously, Saturday was a lot easier saying you're from TVG than horse racing today. I'll say that. They were a little bit more willing to do stuff. But, I mean, you see it all the time. We get top-notch guests on here. They're willing to do it. I think more shows and more things need to highlight the talent in the sport and even bring people like you on that's doing behind-the-scenes stuff that people have no idea.
Yeah, and I've done some stuff in front of the scenes. Like during the Saratoga meet, I was doing a daily play of the day for Del Mar. So I kept up my handicapping because that's one thing I missed, doing the handicapping daily for the New York Post. And at one point, I was doing 5 analysis for 5 different racetracks around the country. Believe me, doing an analysis for 5 tracks is not easy. It takes a long time, but you do what you can and you learn a lot and you get to see a lot, but you want to do it because you love it. And I didn't grow into the sport. I didn't have any family, but once I get into it, I fell in love with it. And I just wanted to keep on going. And even though there might be some people who think you're too old, you're past the hill, you know what the hell you're talking about. Yes, I do. And I want to prove it to everybody on a daily basis.
What was your biggest surprise? I know you can't bet, but I'm sure you looked over the field and you had your thoughts on who was going to win. What was your biggest surprise Saturday?
My biggest surprise was riding with Biden, because not only did he wire the field, for the first time in history, I've never heard a horse get booed during a race. And riding with Biden was on the lead, and when Chris would mention his name, you would hear people booing it. It's like, oh my God. This is a first.
Yeah, I actually heard people that said they didn't have that horse and they would have never bet that horse because it was riding both Biden. And so amazing. Money is money, no matter what. So
yeah, I mean, look, I was there when Birdstone beat Smarty Jones, and you had 120,000 people get beat, and there were people booing because, especially the Philadelphia people that came up, wanted to see Smarty get the Triple Crown, so there are boos then. I've seen other times where there are boos with bad decisions, with the DQ. Like some people thought the DQ on Saturday was bad and they were booing there. But during a race, that was a first.
Jamie, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear her at all.
Well, she's on mute right now. But I don't think I can hear her. I think it's her internet. She might have to go out and come back in.
Can you
Wait,
guys now?
I hear you.
Internet is like not great. I apologize. The hurricane is striking Tampa as we speak. So if we cut out completely, I don't know. Sorry.
Well, as long as you're safe and sound right there, and we hear you now. So.
I'm still here.
So you got anything else to add, John, on what you do, Saturday's card, Parx, anything?
Well, if you look at Saturday's card, first of all, let's talk about Tabor real quick. I mean, that was an incredible performance. What he did, he still lightly raced. He's going to get better, which is scary. The big question is, can he beat the top 2? Now, the one thing, everyone would say Flightline. But Flightline has never gone up against a horse like Life is Good early on the lead. I mean, it's one thing to do 109 relaxed. It's another thing to do 109 when you're being pressed. I mean, if that was look at a claimer, for example. You'll see a claimer go 6 furlongs from 108, but that's because most of the time he's alone on the lead. A claimer cannot do 108 against Grade 1 stake horses. It's a different type of pace pressure. And with Flightline, he's been great, but he's never had a horse with the speed of Life is Good put pressure on him. So if those two go at it with each other, who's to say we may not get an upset? I remember what happened in the Derby this year. He had the two foreign horses, the two foreign jockeys, kill each other in the front end doing record times for the Kentucky Derby, and that sets it up for Rich Strike. That's a regular pace. Does Rich Strike win? Probably not. So you just never know. The conditions could be right for an upset. It could be Tava, maybe it's Rich Strike, could be somebody else. But that's why you run horse racing, because it changes, and one mistake, one decision, could change the whole complexion of the race and could change who wins and loses.
Did you think Tava deserved to be 4 and 5? I mean, obviously he proved he deserved to be 4 to 5, but did you think he should have been 4 to 5 before the race?
Not before the race. He did lose last time with Cyberknife. I talked to Dave, who did the morning line, and it was a question, how low do those two get? But when you have so many other horses that had credentials, you couldn't make them 4 to 5 or even money or less, and you had to put them pretty close to Cyberknife. And there are a couple of people who thought that Cyberknife could have been the favorite, but because of the Baffert factor and how Tava was always highly regarded, in the end, you had to make him the morning line favorite.
What about the track conditions as well? It seemed to be speed bias a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about what's different about the Parx racetrack? Because I heard some jockey comments too.
One thing about Parx is we had rain on Thursday. So when that happens, the inside normally isn't as good as it is on the outside. It starts to even out when it dries out, but since there was no racing, there was probably still some moisture underneath on the inside, and that was pretty a little tough, because look where Table was, look how wide he was, and look where some of the other horses made their moves. They were off the rail. But it does get a little bit more speed favoring at that point as well. But that's because we had that moisture in the racetrack and it was drying out.
I didn't even think of that. I knew it rained Thursday, but I didn't even, I was flying so much around Saturday too. I putting one race to another. You know how it goes. You can't bet though. I was trying to bet a little bit too, and it just wasn't working out.
Yeah, well the thing is, look at some of these horses out there. Look, some horses like it drying out racetrack, others don't. Willie doesn't have to worry about that at Presque Isle because
yeah, he just worries about not hitting the ground.
Oh God, we don't want that, especially on any type of artificial surface. We saw what happened a few years ago at Arlington with a couple of jockeys. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Got anything else, Jamie? That's all I got for now. But John, we're definitely gonna have you back.
Yeah, your expertise is so valuable. I feel like I learned so much. This is the side of the business that I don't know near as much about. So,
and I held John up the one time we were talking and the race was going off. And I gotta tell you, if I'm at the track, I don't actually miss the race at all. Like when I got there, I had to wait an hour for the media pass, and I almost missed the first race. And I was like, inside, I was like, oh, come on. But John was so enjoyable to talk to. I'm just talking away and holding John up. So,
I love talking horse racing. I love helping people. I was able to bring a couple of my racehorse people into the winner's circle after the second race, where I think half the grandstand was in the winner's circle for that one.
I was going to say a couple. Yeah. They just kept coming. I thought I was going to get plowed over for a second.
Oh, I have a horse with my racehorse, by the way. So much fun. Anyone who is like wanting to get a little piece of horses, check it out. It's entertaining.
And you get to meet a lot of people, and they're all very friendly, and the excitement. Look, even if you get only 1 or 2 regular owners out of it at the end, hey, that's what we need. We need everyone, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. But look, Mike Rapoli, he was no TV guy, and he didn't have that much money before Vitamin Water, and look at him now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy how loud that place got when My Alibi came close to that finish line.
And what do you think would have happened if Over Revolution had caught Scaramouche? That would have been bigger.
Yeah.
But let's give Chris Griffin credit for knowing where Scaramouche came from and doing the double Scaramouche call. He just couldn't get Fandango in there.
Yeah, he did a
Scaramouche too. I spoke to the owner quite a lot, And this is one of the dangers about doing what I did, because when I spoke to him, I told him we had 8 in the race and had 4 horses on the fence.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we see what happens. Who knew that all 4 horses on the fence were going to get into the race, along with him and one other one last minute? Turned out to be 14. Hey, sometimes these things happen. Yeah, but I wasn't lying to him.
Yeah.
Just sometimes these things do happen.
Doesn't matter. I'm sure he's not mad now. He won.
Oh, he definitely won. I like this horse. I'll be very curious. And I actually sent him a message today, and I told him, if I were you, I would look at the Cigar Mile as the next start for him, because I think he's got the running style. And with most of the milers pointing to the Breeders' Cup and either retiring or looking to stretch out again, hey, we've seen the Cigar in the bottom, not big fields. You might be able to steal a grade 1.
Good point. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
See, anybody wants a racing manager? Hey, I'm available. I could scout out too.
There you go.
So,
Absolutely.
Maybe knows Avila, Juan Avila, who had Trophy Chaser.
Yeah.
But I think he's to have a base coat. I actually found that horse a couple of years ago. He had won allowance race at Gulfstream Park, and like, wow, this horse has talent. And I actually convinced him to come up to the Gallant Bob that year, and he actually ran 3rd.
Very cool.
And that's it. You want to give these small guys a shot. I mean, Trophy Chaser and Avila, who ever heard of those guys before?
Right.
So if people do want to get in touch with you, they want a racing manager, or they want somebody, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. They can also contact me on Twitter at John DaSilva. And, of course, I'm in the racing office at Parx. I mean, I'll be on the phone tomorrow taking the entries. And if they need anything else, they can always contact me there, too. And we could talk, and we'll see what happens. Because right now, like I said, I'm open to anything. But right now, my job is at Parx and Delaware, calling the charts. But I'm going to do whatever I can to help this game, to help people. And I know some people want me to do certain things. Hey, above my pay grade for the takeout. That I can't do anything about that. But other things, I can try my best to make happen, to help and see what happens. And even with jockeys or jockey agents, like if really want to come to Parx to ride one day, I'll find them a good agent if I don't do it myself.
There you go. Well, we
John's gonna make it happen.
Yeah. We appreciate your expertise so much. This has been a great conversation. And like Shawn said, please come back again.
Hey, you give me the invite, I'll be there, or maybe I'll be asking more questions like I was with John, because I remember we actually interviewed John, which is why I asked him about riding in New York, because we did the story and we made the comparisons, because he had Eddie Campbell, who had Steve Carlton, who was his agent at that time, and the comparisons were about Carlton and Day at that point, because, hey, he's not a big guy. Neither is Pat Day. I think he's actually smaller than Day, and we mentioned that in the story. So that's why I brought up those questions to see how much he remembered about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. The comparisons between him and Steve were just continuous from what I could see. Just even researching him, every single article had both of them together. So
you probably saw the New York Post article then that my colleague Ed Fontaine did.
Yes, very cool. Awesome.
Alrighty. Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Yes, you have a good night.
Hey, you guys keep on doing the great work, and let's make horse racing great again.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
See you, John.
All right. Okay, everyone. I don't even know if everything is fully functional, but it seems like we're okay for now. Like, things keep going haywire on me.
Well, we're glad we got you back, because I saw you weren't on mute, but I couldn't hear you at all. You were talking, but
I know. I don't even know. Like I said, and my screen is kind of jumping around, so I just hope that everything is okay for the people watching.
Before we go, and you're good. Before we go, this is the last day for 20% off. You can go to Horse Racing Today in the shop. This hat here, you have to you can adjust all this stuff. I mean, you really did your adjustments. You can adjust all this. You got hats, you got shirts, you got bags, you got all kinds of stuff.
Customize.
You got See You in the Winner Circle shirts, See You in the Winner Circles hats. 20% off, I think, till midnight. So you have to get it now. Picks with the Professor. We've partnered with them, like Rich says all the time. Check them out.
Yes.
Professor Sides on Twitter. Go to their website. They have a YouTube. He's doing college football. He's doing baseball. He does every sport besides the NFL. And we take care of the NFL on Friday night. So sports are covered that way too. So that's what I got. And then tomorrow we'll be with Molly Rollins from Blood Horse, and she also works for John Ortiz as well as an exercise writer, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she's done a little bit of everything, but currently she's with John and also the Blood Horse. Very much looking forward to that conversation. Someone more on the media side should be fun.
Yeah. And then Wednesday, Jockey Iberkoa.
Yes. Keeberkoa.
Keeberkoa. What did I say?
Yes.
Eber. Yeah.
I think Eber's his dad, right? But
yeah.
He's fun. He's a close personal friend of mine and my husband's, and he's fun. We'll have a good time.
Perfect. And then Saturday for me, I got to meet some people that have been on the show, and they're as advertised. I don't even want to really go into naming them, but I got to meet Mike Smith, Chantel Sutherland, all as nice in person as they are on the show. I got to meet Tyler Connor again. That's the third time now I got to see Tyler Connor. So
awesome.
And then we got some new ones too. I got to talk to Frankie Pennington. I scheduled Frankie Pennington for November.
Awesome.
A couple others. So met John there. John was great. So hopefully I get to the track more on that side. Get to do more of that, because that will just open more relationships here too.
Yes, for sure. I know. I was really enjoying your social media from the weekend. I was like, oh, I wish I was there.
Oh, and Sarah was great.
Yeah,
got to talk to Safi Joseph too. So that was
very cool.
That was great. Yeah, there's some people you can't reach on social media, so you got to be on purpose, on track to do it. Frankie Pennington was one. Safi Joseph was another. He just kept avoiding me. I couldn't get a hold of them without being at the track. I shouldn't say they were avoiding me. I just couldn't get a hold of them with social media or anything else. So finally got to at the track. So
just track
and then
down.
I got to meet Rich Perloff, Kaiten Bradar.
Oh, cool.
Maggie Wolfendale was there. Jessica
Awesome.
Paquette. Like, there was so many people there.
That
and like I said, I don't have a bad story to tell about any of them. They were all really nice.
No, the racetrack is like a family, but we're a very welcoming family. I feel like anyone who comes in with good intentions, they get welcomed with open arms.
I almost got plowed over from Joel Rosario. Was it? Yeah, Joel Rosario. I almost got plowed over before I was in the way, but he joked about it, so that was good.
Okay.
There were a couple times the horses got turned around, and I was like, I'm not supposed to be standing here, because if this horse gets up, I'm going to get knocked out. So that wouldn't have been good.
Right.
So, when you're a rookie, you learn a couple things for the next time too.
Yeah, for sure. Wonderful. Well, I'm glad you had such a great weekend, and it was an awesome card, like we were discussing. Record-breaking handles all the time we're hearing this. I mean, to me, it's all good news. It sounds like horse racing is going the right way, and let's keep going with that trend, right?
Absolutely. And I said it off air. I said it on post today. Happy birthday. You're what, like 30 now?
Thank you. I'm 29.
Oh, okay.
Don't age
okay.
me.
Oh, man.
Awesome. All right. So please like, subscribe, follow. We're on pretty much all of the social medias. The more that you like, subscribe, leave a review, whatever, that just helps us to keep doing what we're doing and hopefully keep going up and up like the sport of horse racing. But whatever you end up doing, we hope that you always end up in the
winner circle.
All right.